Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, good people, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and however we're together. Thank you for being here. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Head. So, what's in my head? I know you can see if you're on Spotify or YouTube. I'm wearing my Eagles green. I'm going to support my team, but we didn't get the chip. The Eagles lost to the Chiefs 38-35, a disappointing, almost soul-crushing loss, but I'm proud of my team. And I've said to people during this week that's followed the Super Bowl that I'm not as upset as I feel like I should be. I'll get into one part of why after this, talking about this, but Andy Reid coaches the Chiefs, and I have a sore spot for Andy Reid. And the Chiefs aren't really a team that I hate as a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And so, there's no doubt in my mind, there's zero part of me that did not want to win that Super Bowl. As an Eagles fan, as a Philadelphia native, I wanted to win. But to lose a Super Bowl, to see how the team performed, to see how Jalen performed, and Jalen Hurts, for those who have no idea what I'm talking about. But to see how Jalen Hurts performed, to shut up the doubters, to shut up all the talking heads who talked all the smack about him not being a solid quarterback. He threw for over 300 yards, rushed for, 3 touchdowns, threw for another one. To see that, to see how proud I am of the team really diminish some of the sorrow I had, if you will, for the Eagles not winning the Super Bowl. Yes, to some people, there was a controversial holding call at the end of the game. As a current and former defensive back in football, here's my take on it. He held him. He threw the flag. End of story. He admitted as such. It was a hold. It came at the worst time. Yeah. There's an argument out there that if it didn't hold, the ball still may not have been caught. There's an argument out there that even if it was scored for a touchdown, there's plenty of time for the Eagles to come back and score and tie the game up and send it to overtime. So there's that hold is not on the refs. The refs did what they were supposed to do. Although there's some rules argument about it being within 5 yards, not even going to touch that. He held him. There's a penalty. It enabled them to chew the clock and get it down to a low score, and that's what it is. But the real reason the Eagles lost was a very poor defensive game plan. Sitting back in zones all day against the Kansas City Chiefs and watching them just pick apart the opening spots was just a poor game plan. But not as poor as not adjusting to that poor game plan. And that's really where the Eagles lost. To be up 10 at halftime and to lose that game, to essentially be minus 13 in the second half. And really a hero's Herculean effort from Jalen Hurts to try to bring this team back, to tie it up 35-35, it's a testament to how poorly the game plan was for the defense and how poorly the adjustments were for the defense coordinator, who no longer is with the Eagles, so maybe we lucked out. But congratulations to my Eagles. Congratulations to the Birds on an amazing season. People kind of laughed at me and chuckled a little bit when I said that they could win 12, 13 games this year. I actually looking at the schedule, and I know it's a tough schedule next year. Don't know the order, don't know the times, but we do know who the Eagles are playing home and away. It's going to be a top-tier, difficult schedule. I still look at that schedule and say they can win 11, 12, maybe even 13 games. And that's just preliminary before any free agency, any draft whatsoever. But hats off to the Chiefs. Hats off to Andy Reid. Congratulations. But equally, hats off to the Eagles. Hats off to the organization, the coaches, Jalen Hurts, all the players for an amazing season. Fell a step short, but we went further than a lot of people thought we were. So congratulations, Birds. The second thing that's on my mind, and actually part of the reason why I was not incredibly bummed out about the Eagles losing the Super Bowl, we put, as Mel Gibson said in Braveheart, freedom! And then he, got his head chopped off. But still, my divorce is moving towards finalization, just waiting for the paperwork to be stamped and signed. And it's it. I had a hearing about a week or so ago, and everything's going to be finalized. It was like pulling teeth to get to this point, and took way too long. Many years and many, many dollars to get to this point, but it's finally going to be finalized. That tough, evil, hard, disgusting chapter is finally closing as far as a wedding's concerned. Now, there may be things to follow, but that divorce will be final. But the Eagles did ruin a chance to have an absolute perfect weekend. I will say that. Because if getting the divorce final and the Eagles would have won, I probably would have climbed up on my roof and popped like champagne bottles, and I probably would have been a whole mess. So it may be a good thing that the Eagles did win. I don't know. But one thing I did notice was that being in the same place at the same time was a slight mini trigger for me. It impacted my restful sleep. It impacted some of my waking moments, daydreaming. And it's one of those things that I know that I have to reflect. I have to internalize why, even if it was just a mini trigger, it's still a trigger. And it could be part of the healing process, could be part of the divorcing process, the cutting off finally process. It could be part of the just exhale process. Yeah. But I have to reconcile that to make sure if somehow I bump into her, not physically or literally, because I literally would probably just ignore her if I was the same place, the same time again. But if that situation presents itself again, that it's not even the slightest of a mini trigger, because the place I'm at in life, the relationships I have in life, the situations I have in life, finances I have in life, all those things are much, much better off since her. So it shouldn't really impact me at all, but it slightly does. And so I've got to do something with my own mental health to handle that, emotional health to handle that. What's in My Head is brought to you in part by Digga Movers, your safe and swift moving company. An A+ rated one-stop shop licensed and insured moving company, providing local and long-distance services on the move. For more information, visit their website at www.diggamovers.com or call 1-888-77-DIGGA. That's 1-888-773-4436. One thing I love tremendously, is great jazz, great R&B. And so the day that I'm recording this, last night, I surprised one of my good friends, I call her my TO, and took her to dinner and took her to a live concert at the Philadelphia Academy of Music, amazing venue, to see Gregory Porter. And if you don't know who Gregory Porter is, he's a tremendous, I want to say it's baritone voice. I have to look up the actual terminology. Don't get me started about music and definitions, but very deep voice, very soulful voice. And it's one of those things where it was just a moment. It was a great, great night. And listen, I can, if you follow me for 4 seasons, I think it was last season I did the show where I kind of talked about some of my favorite artists, and he gave me some bars too. So let me give you one of my favorite moments from last night, and you tell me in the comments on this episode what you thought about my singing. So here it goes. It's a song called Overrated that he sings, and so it starts off like this. If love is overrated, let me be the one to be naive. Right? I don't have the deep voice because he's kind of like, if love is overrated. But I can't do that. I got to keep it where it's at. Got to know my lane, stay in it, and all that stuff. But Gregory Porter, amazing performance. And it's, I love live shows. I don't get to see a lot of live shows. And COVID obviously deaded all live performances for the most part. And so I have a very handful select, even throughout my life, where I can say, I saw this person live. And one of the, I don't do regrets, but one of a few people I wish I would have seen live, Michael Jackson, Prince, Luther Vandross. I wish I'd have seen all 3 of those live. And I love me some Anita Baker. I call her Mama Baker. I got a little beef with Mama Baker though, because I went to her farewell tour. I'm using air quotes here. Went to her farewell tour back in, I want to say this was 2021, maybe. I think it was. And she came to Philly. I saw them tickets. I said, I gotta get. I'm trying to be up front. By the time I ordered, first 6 rows are going. I said, all right, I gotta be in row 7. And I was there in row 7, cheering on cheering on Mama Baker, and thinking, I got this ticket. This is gonna be a collectible. It might be worth sort of money we want someday. You know, all that stuff. And then she doing a residency in Las Vegas. Now, Mama Baker, you know I love you, but when you said you was up there on one good leg, talking about, you know, this is why I'm retiring. This is why my farewell tour. I was like, yes, you deserve it. Give you your flowers now. Clap, clap, clap. And then you're gonna go and do a whole residency in Las Vegas. I got a little bone to pick with you, but I'm probably gonna try to fly out there and see you. But I'm just saying, I got a little bone to pick, little bone to pick. But I was happy with the company, amazing company, my friend, and amazing dinner, by the way. If you're ever in Philly, check out a restaurant called Volver. It's right by, I think it's Arts Row or Avenue of the Arts, I think is what it's called. Right there inside the, whatever the big center is or the big arches on. I can't think of the name right now. Down the street from the Academy of Music, a block away. Amazing food. Flavorful. I had some amazing lamb. With black eyed peas, by the way, which I would have never put that combination together, but it's something I may try now. Black eyed peas were so flavorful. Lamb was just beautifully cooked. Asked for medium, I got medium. So check out Volver. And if you can see Gregory Porter live, please take the opportunity to do it. But that's what's in my head. So episodes 1 and 2, which are episodes 51 and 52, if you're keeping count through the past 4 seasons, to start this season, bookend what I call the Day of Love, Valentine's Day. Now, USA Today says that Valentine's Day finds people in one of a couple places, either excited about Valentine's Day, indifferent, or dreading it. Now, for some, it's frustrating reminder that they're not in a relationship, even though they want to be in it. For others, it's a day to celebrate singlehood, like almost as unofficial, yay, I'm single day. And they do so with their friends, family, whoever. Some people in relationships, it's a day to celebrate that love and commitment. Others, it's a way to overspend on fancy meals. I had a nice meal last night with myself, by the way. And stress about gifts. And a lot of people do stress about gifts. We'll get into that in a second. For other people, literally Valentine's Day is strictly all about sex. Now, hopefully your Valentine's Day is or was something positive for you. But if it wasn't, if it prompts negative emotions, whether it's frustration, pressure, according to Everyday Health, here are some ways to kind of reset your emotional response to Valentine's Day. Now, the first one they talk about is ditching unfounded pressures. First, it's figuring out and understanding where these pressures are coming from. Are you in constant battle with your friends that are in relationships, or your family? You know, you're trying to live up to something your parents may have established in their life with their relationships, their marriage. Where is this pressure coming from? Or is it from movies? Are you a movie buff and you just love, like, you know, when Harry Met Sally, and you love those classic movies where love is this beautiful story that's told, and you're trying to create that in your life. The second thing is adjusting expectations. Now, I break this down to communication. Communicate with your partner. Are you exchanging gifts? Do you expect gifts? Did you have a bad experience in your past relationship and you want to make sure that type of thing doesn't happen? Do you just want to chill and not be a big deal? Communicate with your partner. The next one is explore all the ways that you love. It's not just about being in relationships. You have great friendships. You have great family. Valentine's Day doesn't have to be about just somebody you happen to be with or maybe courting or whatever. The next to last one is feel your feelings. It's okay to feel down because of Valentine's Day. It's okay to embrace the good, the bad, the indifferent feelings that surround Valentine's Day because you're in touch with yourself. You understand what you're going through and you're able to process and move through it. The last one, which is all Capricorn, all me, all the time. Plan ahead. Whether you're single or not, whether you're doing something or not, plan what makes you happy first. Even if you're with somebody, you don't want to do something or plan something just because your partner may love it, but you hate it. So plan something that makes you happy as a first, and if you're with somebody, makes your partner happy second. Now, before I get to my guest for this episode, Helen Keller actually has a quote that I think applies here, and it's this: the best and most beautiful things in this world cannot be seen or even heard, but must be felt with the heart. whether you're single, but especially if you're in a relationship, for the benefit of having a long, loving, honest relationship. I hope that Valentine's Day and every day you have and feel beautiful love in your heart. Now, I'm talking about relationships, Valentine's Day, obviously because episode's bookended, but I want to bring in my guest for this episode, Andre Paradis. Now, he's a relationship coach, NLP coach, educator of effective communications, published writer, published speaker, and an ordained minister. He grew up in Canada, then went on vacation in Los Angeles, where he was scouted and became a professional, got an agent, auditioned, and booked work that led to a life of unforgettable experiences dancing with these legends. Check it out. Michael Jackson, Prince, Paul Abdul, and Julio Iglesias. We have to talk about that at some point. He attended a workshop called Understanding Women, which led him to studying and learning from some of the biggest relationship masters, Dr. Pat Allen, Dr. Estelle Perel, Dr. John Gray, Shanti Feldon, and Allison Armstrong. He started sharing his knowledge with his friends and his family, and that led to him leading them to happier lives with the people they loved. As a result, he sold a successful auto shop and launched Project Equinox Coaching to help men and women learn to build long-lasting and healthy, loving relationships. He has a wife and 2 beautiful children. Andre, welcome to Dave's Head. How's it going?
Good morning.
Good morning, because he's in the West Coast. Good afternoon for me on the East Coast.
Los Angeles, yes.
Yes, I have to admit, I've never been to California. I've been as far west. I think Salt Lake City is actually further west than Las Vegas.
You're missing out. You're missing out.
I do have to get out there. It's an idea. San Diego, San Francisco, LA.
Oh, God,
I want to visit all those.
San Diego, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Very different than LA. It's 2 hours away.
Okay. So I did introduce you a little bit, but I always like to have my guests introduce themselves in their own words. So if you could take a moment, introduce who you are, what you do, and what you're about.
Well, my name is Andre Paradis. Like you said, I'm in Los Angeles. I'm a relationship coach, educator of effective communication, ordained minister. I'm a public speaker. I teach this stuff publicly, a lot on virtual platform because of COVID, but that's my work. I help men and women understand what they don't understand. Our culture has us very confused with the roles that that were more classic for millennia, that now we've dismantled, thinking is actually going to bring some balance with the dynamics. That equalizing men and women's power is often how it showed up. Like, you go girl is going to make her life, giving more choices to women was always the point, which is great. But that whole idea of bringing choice to women and sort of turned into the idea of bringing equality between the genders, and in that it sort of started with choice, and it morphed into the idea that men and women are equal, as in the same, that a man should act more like a woman to be a quality man. No. And the woman should act more like a man to be a quality woman. And that's where the wheels came off in my world. I saw it happen. It started 10 years ago. Things were very different. The problems between men and women were different than that equality thing, that push and pull with equality, which is sort of anti-natural, I want to say. Everything in nature that works is polarized, masculine and feminine, yin yang, right? Black and white, light and night, right? One cannot exist without the other, and it's the opposition that attracts magnets, positive and negative magnets. So this is the dance and the energy essential for love dynamics to last decades. But we decided that we're smarter than nature. Instead of polarizing and keeping the polarization, what works in nature everywhere, we decide to equalize the thing, thinking that we're smarter and better. And then this is the struggle that everybody's dealing with, and no one understands why. It should be better. It should be easier. It should blah, blah. And it's not. It's the worst thing ever. As you can tell, just look out there. It's horrible. So people don't even know. So that's my job, is to basically help men and women understand what works best based in nature, because nature always wins. You go against nature, it's going to cost you. And look around. You know what I mean? And so that is the whole idea. But the men and women who want healthy, loving, long-term relationship, people who want to build a future and a family, but don't know how per what's happening out there. This is my work. That's when I step in.
Let's dive into equality for a second. So
Hmm.
where did the genesis of the equality movement, we're going to call it the equality movement, where did that come from, and how? What's the biggest impact? Because you obviously have a negative view of equality. What's the biggest negative impact on relationships from
But
the genesis of equality?
again, people in our culture, we want to neutralize everything that is unfair. That's how it started. I mean, it sounds good on
Mm-hmm.
paper. I mean, I see how it all kind of kicked in, and try to bring playing fields to a fair playing field to culture, society, men and women. However, when again you take the polarity out of it, you neutralize the magnetism that needs to be in relationships. So your question again, tell me again. I had a different thought. You said
So my
how.
question was, what's the biggest negative impact on relationships as a result of equality?
So we have women that are raised to be strong, independent, and powerful, which is all masculine.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, it was the idea of choice. It makes complete sense. So women want to be more than housewives and mothers. So they want to step into the workforce and, you know, build their own and have some, okay, beautiful, fantastic, great. But again, what happened is we went into masculinizing women by default. It was always a choice back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, even like as it kind of
Mm-hmm.
progressed. It was always like you could go to work, be a boss babe, or you could be a mom. Like you have choices now. You're not just stuck with simple choices. We open the doors
Mm-hmm.
for everything, and women have proven that they can actually do everything. Fantastic. Way to go. You go, girl. However,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, this push became what you look at it now is the the movement is much more an anti male movement. All you're hearing out there right now is men are toxic, masculinity is toxic. Yeah, you don't need them. They're dangerous. You can't trust them. How's that going to help relationships? Like, if you make half the planet, us males, wrong for being who we are, that means you know nothing about man, right? And the cultural pulse is killing all possibilities between men and women. So that's one. In the idea of liberating women, we went too far into neutralizing what makes a man and a woman come together. You know what I mean? So that's
So
how I see it happen.
just stepping into, so about 80% of my audience is women, so I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to go over well with them. But I want to just clarify. So the premise of women in the workforce, I mean, women are talented, they're great minds out
Absolutely.
there. That's perfectly fine. You're
Yes.
saying the step past that of emasculating men
Yeah.
or looking at men as the problem is where you find the problem.
Well, that's what it's at now. But even before that, there's a lot of women who don't necessarily hate men, who don't
Mm-hmm.
think men are toxic or dangerous, who want to create relationships with men, and they can't. They can't. They absolutely
Mm-hmm.
can't. And these are my clients. They call me, 35 plus, 35, 40. They've been go girl since they were in high school, right? Build the careers of their lives, competing in the world, pushing in the world, building business in the world, building your career in the world. That's all masculine. And
Mm-hmm.
what happened is they don't realize that that's pushed their femininity behind them. And what men, real men, good men, valuable men are looking for is feminine women. So these women that are super powerful, super amazing, super talented, super smart, make money, fantastic, but men don't want those girls. Men really at their core do not care about women's money or their career or what they do. Absolutely not. That's not what's interesting to me. So these women that are all go girl, they're so proud of it, should go in the dating world, and men aren't interested. Men aren't interested because the part that men are looking for is now missing, and this is really where my women are all over calibrated. They don't know that they're masculine. They don't. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know. They have no idea. They've been pushing since they were 10 years old or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then so their femininity has really been neutralized completely. They're more masculine than anything, and they can be beautiful and all of that. That's not what attracts men. It's their
Mm-hmm.
energy and their femininity. So the idea is just not knowing. My clients are always like, "What's wrong with me? Like I have money, I'm beautiful, I'm still young, I have my own house, my own car, my own everything. I'm no trouble for any man. How come nobody's dating me or who wants to build with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Well, because you're more masculine than most men at this point." And the masculine men who want to build, you're irritating to them because you're more masculine or you're masculine pulse in masculine ways that you're not aware of necessarily is directly disrespectful to his, and men who are men just walk away. They don't want that stuff. They're looking for sweet, agreeable, cooperative, feminine women. And this is where everybody's blind, and women will blame men for not stepping up. And I'm like, well, you keep, your energy, literally, your pace, your lifestyle is pushing him back. That's not what they're looking for. They don't care about your money.
Now, I know a lot of women are probably thinking, and I heard this as a trigger word before, cooperative, a lot of women take as submissive.
That's not.
And so,
it's a team.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm
team,
getting at. So,
right?
Is it submissive? Are you talking about there should be levels, man, woman, or is it a partnership? I like to say partnership all the time when I talk about relationships, just because there's certain things a man should do, certain things a woman I think should do, certain things they should do together as a team. So that's why I always call relationships partnerships instead of relationships. But a lot of women, that trigger word there is submissive. Why is that a good or a bad thing to have in a relationship between a man and a woman?
It's just, two pieces of a pie or two pieces of a puzzle that come together. That's what fits, right? What men are looking for is respect. Men actually have to have respect, otherwise they won't fall in love with you, period. Now, interesting, you have to respect a man first in order for him to even be able to attach to you. Women need to feel connected and feel cherished in order to, build the relationship. So we both want respect and cherishing, but they actually occur backwards for men and women. If you don't cherish a woman, she can't respect you, right? And there's no relationship. If you don't respect a man, he can't cherish you. So the dance is we all want the same thing, but backwards. There's two different pieces all the time. We're in opposition, and we have to fill in the part that the only way for it to work is we actually bring the part the other one is looking for. So respect, men need respect, and men want cooperation. Surrendering or submissive, or whatever you call it, is really respectful cooperation. That's all it is. So it doesn't mean doormat. It doesn't mean you have no say. Is that we work together. It's partnership. And so women are trying to get in front of men because for millennia, men have been stepping in front of women and pushing them down. Now women are like, it's my turn. But that doesn't work. That's not partnership. That's competition. And that's why you're losing. Men are not participating in that. The masculine one are not participating. The boys, different story. Don't need to go there. But men are not interested in competing with women. They step out. They won't do it. What they're looking is partnership. It's not him in front, her in front. It's together, side by side. Pilot, co-pilot, president, vice president. You know what I mean? Together, pilot, co-pilot, you could fly the plane, both doing their part. Submissive, just do your part, right? It's the part that he doesn't necessarily isn't built to do as much as you are. And again, so stay in your lane, come together and negotiate everything. That's, I'm not talking about going back to the 50s. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a modern way to do relationships that still line up for the traditional masculine and feminine paradigm. That's just what works. Like it a lot. Yeah.
Now, you did make a distinction between men and boys, and I'm pretty sure one of the questions or one of the thoughts will be for this is, so there are women who we say are too masculine and men are not attracted to them because they feel like they don't need a man. I think that's exactly what you said. But I'm sure women will say, what about the men who simply do women wrong? And so from that trauma, and I had the last episode was about trauma. From that trauma, they've become this because of the men they've encountered in their life who've done them wrong.
Well, trauma, that kind of trauma where women are masculine to a point where they've lost touch with their femininity, the trauma actually happened in childhood. It's not the relationship they had with men as adult women. It's trauma with daddy. No daddy, bad daddy, no, never feeling safe in the world as a little girl because there was no daddy energy to really make a woman. Women who are not protected by some daddy energy, like a father in the house, have to man up to survive the world. And so in that, they grow into being masculine. Naturally, it's an instinct. There's nothing, it's normal. But in the end, what happens, they can't recalibrate and they actually don't get to grow into their feminine energy. And when they get to be older, they're very capable, they're amazing, but they can't live the life of a woman who could be feminine, and that's what the trouble becomes. So the trauma of your childhood has to be taken care of, not There's childhood plus if you're a masculine woman, this is really what nature really will mess you up. If
Mm-hmm.
you're been traumatized as a child, again, same the boys are the same thing. Boys have been castrated by their mothers, no father, no role models, nobody, right? And raised to be sweet and sensitive. Castrated of the masculinity, being raised by a woman who's trying to make him sweet and good boys, good guys. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. These are the guys. By the way, these are the guys that are toxic. These are the ones who cheat. These are the ones who lie, who manipulate. Boys, not men. Men don't do this. Boys do. So this is what I'm getting to. When women are
Mm-hmm.
masculine, they don't know it energetically because everything is energy, right? Masculine women attract feminine men, so they attract the cheaters, the liars, the pull. These destructive boys who don't do anything that men do and expect women
Mm-hmm.
to pay to take care of them, to go girl, to make them comfortable. We'll just flip the script and those are the guys who cheat and lie. So women think when you're stuck in your masculine and you don't know it, you will constantly, over and over throughout your life, attract boys. You'll think that's man. That's not. It's not. But that's where the nature kicks you in the head because you get
Mm-hmm.
stuck in that loop. Energetically, you're inside out, and you
Well, I
attract
think
inside out.
to play devil's advocate here, I
Please,
mean, it would probably come across what you just said as absolving the men for the responsibility of treating women right.
boys,
Um,
boys. That's
yeah,
not what I'm saying, man.
but
I'm saying boys. That's a third of the population. That's not man.
but even boys, you credited their temperament, their behavior to women, their mother in their life, not to them actually having a two-parent household, being raised by a good father, and just choosing to treat women wrong.
It's trauma. It's trauma. Just like women that are masculine don't know they're masculine, they don't know different, they were raised that way, they have to protect themselves, right? There's an in between, by the way. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
typically the extreme women who really have difficulties with this and don't. Look, having my clients come up to me, they realize at 35, 40 that they're tired of working, the go girl stuff's not working. They want to build relationships, they want to have companionship, that they've never valued that before because they were stuck in the money lane,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not normal typically. Like that's just like so Mike, like that's not what most normal women, the pace of most women's normal women's life, and normal as in like, a more feminine, balanced,
Mm-hmm.
energetically woman. So it's when at 35 and 40 that women realize I don't want this anymore. Money doesn't make me happy. I'm tired. I want companionship. I want some love. It's too late for kids sometimes. Sometimes they still have a hope of, wanting kids. Um, it's not their fault. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the same with the injury that's happened for them to be stuck in that rhythm is the same for boys. It's like if, boys that have been without daddy role models, 90% of men in jail are from single family homes. No daddy. I mean, there's a lot of data on this. This is not my opinion again. Nothing I'm talking about is my opinion. So men need men to raise them to be capable, good men of value, to know how to be masculine appropriately, provide, protect, cherish women naturally. That's what men do. Boys do none of that. Boys are too feminine and emotional, and those are the ones who masculine women trip over, and it makes a terrible life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not man. And it's not their fault, right? There's a traumatized as young boys that as masculine women have been traumatized by the lack of protection. It's just what it is.
So let's do a hypothetical. So,
Yeah.
given all this that we've talked about, what is the perfect woman for, if you will, a perfect man? What's that
Ha!
combination?
Ha! I love that question. So in my world, women are like this, right? They're completely sideways. Like they have the
Mm-hmm.
feminine is underground. They haven't never had to use it. They don't believe in it. They think it's weak. They think it's useless. Right? Go girl, badass, blah 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 blah. So they're like this. They're men. I call them men with vaginas. They're more masculine than anything, and they realize after a while it's not working. So in my world, a true badass, if we're gonna go there, it's not a masculine woman who's ball busting all over the place. Is a woman who could do both, right? So we don't change or undo everything that a woman's built and her powers and right, like everything. We don't change that. That's not what I'm saying. We embrace that, except it's missing a whole other side. So to cultivate back in her feminine essence, for her to be able to be warm and radiant, and feminine. That's what attracts good men, by the way, who want to provide, protect, cherish, and give. You need that feminine. So in my world, a perfect balanced woman knows how to be masculine at work, because you have to be to produce anything. But you get out of work, be a woman in the world. This is how your social life changes and how you interact with men, women, children, dogs. Like everybody benefits from a feminine energy woman because it's attractive and magnetic. So my that's what we're recalibrating. So ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
I say you can be masculine in the work. Okay, here's the line. You ready? But I say leave your balls at work. You can't show up in the world with your balls in people's faces, especially men. It doesn't work, and this is where the blind spots are.
And
Pretty
how about the
simple.
man side? What's the perfect man side?
Small time.
What's the perfect man side? So what makes a perfect man for the now we have the perfect woman.
Right.
What's the perfect man?
So a man, this is again, this has never changed, by the way, for men. In our culture, women, we open the channels and the door for women. They don't have to be traditional. They could go girl, become, you know what I mean? Like, so women have stepped out of being traditional women. However, men, it's not changed ever. So for a man to be respectable to himself and to culture, to society, both men and women, he has to do something with himself. He has to like conquer something. He has to build something, right? First thing, typically as a young man, is they conquer their fears. They build a character by by challenging themselves and everything they're not comfortable with. They build, they push, they compete, they fight, they build themselves. They push through their fear. They build a character, and that builds their confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
typically, a natural male will want to leave some kind of legacy, right? That they can hold themselves accountable for their lives. And in that, these are the men who want wives and children and families and build a kingdom. This is men. This is all ideal males, right? They
Mm-hmm.
just go and get their lives. Very traditional, very traditional. And these are guys again who provide, protect, and cherish and give. Women want these men, but in our culture, women don't want to be traditional anymore. So they want traditional males, but they don't want to be traditional. You see where that doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
So men have no choice, never had a choice. In order to be respectable by everyone, himself and men and women, he has to do something, build something, provide something, change the world in some way, whether it's a business, a legacy, a family, something that's difficult that he has to go and conquer. That's a
Mm-hmm.
man. And these are the guys who want families. Pretty simple.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think we have a good
You see
picture.
it?
So now, so let's look at through all this, men, women, there's sex, and so
Yeah.
there's a famous song from the '90s. Let's talk about sex.
Let's
Um,
talk about sex,
yeah.
baby. Salt,
So
pepper.
yes, salt and pepper. So you have a theory on sex and how early sex prevents the building of healthy long-term relationships. Why is that the case, and how does
That's
that
it's not my
impact?
theory. It's not my opinion. It's the data.
Okay.
The data, the data, the data, the data. It's not my opinion. So it's that whole thing, that whole mechanism again is based in instinct. So we don't have necessarily words for that. It just sort of is, right? People think we're beyond our instinct so much. We think we're like, we're not cavemen and cavewomen anymore. We're like educated and evolved and socialized. Yeah, and we're still,
Mm-hmm.
what runs the show is still your DNA. And your DNA is hunter-gatherer to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not aware of that. However, it's driving the show all the time. So part of instinct for man, again, if you want to build a world, a legacy, and a family, is you want a traditional woman. A traditional woman is virtuous. The traditional woman doesn't get run through, in her 20s. Traditional woman, like, you know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
because, interesting, get this, women will pick men for their future potential, right? You look at a man, you date a man, and he's got his life together, and you can see the future in him. Like, he's got a plan, and he's on track. He knows who he is. He knows where he's going. Very attractive to a
Mm-hmm.
woman. But flip this on the other side. What do men looking for in women? And if men are trying to build something, a family with a woman, he goes into looking into her past. Where's she been? What's her character? Right? So in our culture right now, with women having sex like men, instinctively, there's something about that that's unnatural for men. It's off-putting, and the thought of this woman that I'm going to try to build something spend my time, my energy, my resources, my money on has to be virtuous. Otherwise, I can't trust her. I can't trust her. So they look at your past, and you've been run through, and now you're born again virgin. It doesn't work. It's not like your past is actually what's in his face, and he's going to look for again traditional, more virtuous women. That's just nature. So
two quick follow-ups.
please,
So could it be, and then we'll do one and we'll do the other. Could it be that the value of sex has diminished over time in society? And I say that to say that whether you had 1 or 10 partners prior,
yeah,
or whether we slept together on the first date or we waited 5, that some people use sex as a connection. So it's more about that moment versus the past. And so the value of you having 1 or 10 partners before me is not the same as it used to be.
well, not really true. Again, instinctively, it's still wired in there. So men will play with women. If you're going to have sex, you allow a man to have sex with you, he'll absolutely have sex with you. If he's if he's looking to build a family, he'll have sex with you, but he won't marry you. This is typically what happens. Now, not 100%. There's no such thing, but this is the big general rule that you sort of, if you want it to work, you have to do it the way that works most of the time. Is what I mean. So. Now, one thing that no one understands, again, instinctual, is that, in our culture, go girl, and the guys always want to have sex because that's how we connect emotionally. Like, why do men always want to have sex? Because that's actually how we connect emotionally. Men use their bodies and sexualities to feel something, to get to their feelings. That's how we do it. That's why we're always compelled to, because we're pretty much stuck in our heads all the time, and what brings us out of our heads into our bodies is sex. Is one of the most effective way to do this. Women talk
But don't
to me
women
about,
do that too?
no. Women need to feel safe and connected to have sex. Men connect emotionally through sex. Two different machines. Everything we do is opposition. So if a man,
so you're talking about nature and the way nature is designed. That's the way. So I'm talking more about society as it is today. That don't
we're
women
still
use
cavemen, cave women. Men want to have sex. Get this. This is where really it's. I don't know if I could curse, but it's a real mind fuck for both men and women. Yeah. It's a real mind fuck that men who are looking to build a family and looking for a good woman, a virtuous woman, a woman again he can spend his money, time, energy, resources on. He's going to make sure that she's trustworthy, right? So he wants somebody virtuous. He wants somebody with value. He wants somebody more traditional. Doesn't want the stuff that's out there that's opposite of this. I don't even want to say it. But part of this is what happens a lot. Like you meet somebody, you go on a date, 1, 2, 3, 4 dates. Do you know what I mean? I like you, you like me. Let's roll. Because for women, often in our culture right now, they think that having sex with a guy that they like starts intimacy, will start the relationship. However, that's not what occurs to man. Again, instinctively underground. And now I've proven this, I've researched this, I've freaking did my own research on this. I'm always interviewing men, and it's not generational, right? My last interview, young man, who was 27 years old, and back everything I said, right? It's instinctual. Men will be attracted to women. They want to have sex with women all the time, but it's the women who have boundaries around that they find intriguing, valuable, and trustworthy. That's all. So get this. There's an emotional mechanism here. Built in nature again, that nobody's aware of, another mind fuck, is that if, let's say, you date a woman 3 times or 4 times, so you've known her for 3 weeks, so it's going well, you like each other, you have chemistry, right? So you like her 3 weeks worth. She's cool, she's fun, easy to be with, she's sexy, I like her, right? When you cross the line into sex at 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever it is, get this is crazy. This is absolutely insane. This is why it's not working. It's for most men, but normal males, the crossing the line stops their emotional investment in her. What that means is they can't like her any more than he does at that moment, crossing the line. So he'll play with her, but he can't fully get invested in her. His emotional state stops. So he'll
Mm-hmm.
play with her. It becomes a sexual relationship, not an emotional relationship. His heart is not invested. It stopped. So now you have him by the body. If I want to be crass, you have him by the penis, but his
Mm-hmm.
heart never gets in the relationship. So this could last 2 months. This could last 2 years. In the end, he walks away. The bond is not being created. You destroy. He doesn't know really quite happened except that he was never fully into you. You killed it. That's important, right? That's super important. And it's not, again, in my opinion, it's data.
Mm-hmm.
So, and men don't know this either. So they get all like the girl, want to have sex with the girl. So it's like, well, and I get, I've proven this so many times. Young man, older man, well, she was cool, but I guess she's just like the rest of them. Ouch!
Hmm.
Just saying.
Interesting.
So you could,
Okay.
if back to nature. Now it's all driven into instinct.
So what is, and there's probably no real answer to this, but what is the ideal time frame or situation where sex should come into play
It's
then, if
very
too early is
simple.
wrong?
Very, very, very simple. Instead of getting him by the dick, you get him by the heart first. That takes time. Now it
Mm-hmm.
varies, but it's not 3 weeks. It's usually about 3 to 4 months.
Hmm.
That's very simple. All my clients, I marry people, right? I officiate weddings. The one who follow the program, that is not my opinion again. This is like the science and the data behind it. This is how you
Mm-hmm.
build a relationship. This is how you build a man. This is how you make a man fall in love with you and get on one knee. That formula, that way. They follow the formula. They follow the roadmap, the recipe, whatever you call it, based in nature and instinct. And men respect that to death. And now, since she's valuable, she's boundaries, she knows who she is. You can't play her. She hasn't been played by, da 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 da. And now, this is a woman who's safe to spend his time, energy, resources, life on, and they get married. But they don't have sex first.
Mm-hmm.
They get to know each other and fall in love first. It takes months. Now, for some, it takes, like I said, it usually takes about 3 months
Okay.
ish. So some therapists will teach you abstain from sex for 6 months. That's not how it works. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about the abstaining. It's about him falling in love with you. Him valuing you so much. He so value you, your virtue, and the fact that you're a woman he could trust long term per your boundaries, that he's afraid to lose you and commits to you, and that's when you could cross the line. Very simple.
Gotcha. So I think we've touched on culture a lot, but I want to touch on religion really quickly
Yeah.
and ask the question: does religion make relationships today easier or harder?
Oof, that depends on the religion. I was raised Catholic, and it made it ridiculously hard and stupid and illogical and completely hurtful and actually quite nasty. Because everything
Mm,
that's natural in the Catholic faith is evil and nasty and a sin. So you're going
mm,
to shame people out of being, just a natural human, and they walk around shamed about everything, right? I remember my mother is so ridiculous. Like she'd say, she was so like an advocate of like no sex, no sex, no sex till marriage, no sex till marriage, no sex till
mm,
marriage. Do you know what I mean? She got married at 20, so that's easy. That's not how we do anymore. So,
mm,
so sex is terrible. It's disgusting. God frowns upon that. Sex before marriage is just wrong, 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 wrong. You go straight to hell. But when you get married, it's a beautiful, fantastic, loving, great. Like what? So which is it?
mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is like the mind screw of so depending on religion, some religions are not like this. Um, but as a rule, religion is like a set of guidelines to keep people in line. And if you, I mean, so whatever you buy into, as far as sexuality, like I said, even the Hindu culture, who invented the Kama Sutra, is there's a lot of like double teaching, double standards, double like Kama Sutra is all about the celebration of sexuality, and they're shamed out
Mm-hmm.
of doing that, even though they made it. It's interesting, right? So there's much layers here in religion, but some women who say I'm not getting, I don't have sex till I get married. That's some guys will line up for that. I would question their own sexuality as far as like um, there's something about that that's so kind of unnatural, right? If you get to make a man acquiesce to that, you kind of emasculate him completely, but we know that the other way doesn't work either. So I can't. Everybody finds their groove on some level, belief systems, and if it works for you, it works for you. I'm teaching nature again, and religion is not necessarily nature. Spirituality is more lined up in nature. Religion, typically a bunch of rules to abide by. It works. It doesn't work. I don't know. I can tell you what doesn't work. I can tell
Gotcha.
you the parts that don't work.
Gotcha. So before we wrap up the Q&A segment, before we move on to the next segment, I want to touch really quickly. So I talked about the intro. You used to dance for some pretty
Yeah,
big name people. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of rolled them off the tongue as if they're nobodies, but these are pretty big name people. So talk about that real quick. How did that come about? How did you wind up dancing for such large artists in this world?
I mean, that was the career choice that I picked. So I go from Canada, living in a snowbank. I knew at the age of 9 that I had to live in the sun. For some reason, California was the destination. In high school, I started ballroom dancing because it was part of the PE program in our school. I went to a fancy private school. And for some reason, dancing was something. I remember my very first class. I'm almost 16 years old. The girl in my arms, and the teacher starts teaching. I'd never been in a class in my life. I'm 15 years old. And everything the teacher would demonstrate, I could just copy. I could just oop, oop, oop. And that's when I realized I had a talent for this. I don't know where it came from. It was just built into me. Like it's almost like I knew all of it. I'd forgotten. So you just had to remind me, and there it was.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up moving to the West Coast, Vancouver, BC, get away from my family. I was a ballroom dancer at the time. No such thing in Vancouver, so I started doing jazz dancing, like leg warmers and headbands and jazz hands, which is
Spirit
the
fingers.
commercial, the commercial jazz aspect of it. So dancers for commercials, TV, whatever. In Vancouver, there's no business. I fly to Los Angeles to help a friend of mine in his demo reel for a 2-week vacation to Los Angeles with my girlfriend. And 2 days later, I get scouted and I get hired on the spot. I have my own Hollywood story. I'm like show up at a party in Hollywood. I'm just here to help my buddy with his reel. I'm here vacationing for 2 weeks, and I get scouted. Like the guy comes at me. It's an older gentleman. I thought he was trying to pick me up. It was really awkward because he kept staring at me as I'm dancing with my girl, and eventually comes up to me. I'm like, "What the hell, dude?" Right? And he's like, listen. He says, I run a national, um, I run a national show, and I lost one of my dancers 4 months ago. I've been auditioning since. I can't find anyone to replace him, but you're exactly what I'm looking for. What do you say? Oh, and boom. That was on a
Yeah.
Saturday night. Monday morning, I was in rehearsal. 3 weeks later, on the road, and that was my first big, huge professional job. Touring, and after that for about a year and a half, because everything on tour is paid for. You don't have any bills; everything's paid for. The money goes directly in your pocket. So when I quit that job, because touring is not glamorous, and as a trained commercial dancer, you have to keep training, otherwise you lose your, it's like an athlete, right? You lose your finesse, your timing.
Yeah.
Job on the road was fun, made some money, and dance and sex, alcohol, women, like you name it, right? We partied. That's all we did. We had fun, party. Eventually, it was like, this is not dangerous. This is not, this is not good for me. Like, I need to sort of get back to my life. Moved to Los Angeles, had the funds to do it, got an agent, and started auditioning for music videos, commercials, television, movies, television shows. Like the business of Hollywood, it's in Hollywood. If you're going to do dance for a living, you want to sing for a living, if you want to act, you go to Hollywood, right? This is where it's at. And so, and that's how auditioning, got Michael Jackson, got Prince, got Paula Abdul, 2 years with Paula. Julio Iglesias, we did a 6 series of tango videos that was never released in the United States, but big credit. And I get tons of people that came and went that people won't remember necessarily unless you're from the 90s generation. But yeah, that's what I was going to do. Like dancing was something that was into me somehow naturally, and I took it all the way to make a living at it because that's all I wanted to do.
Gotcha. And I've always heard Paula Abdul is an amazing dancer.
Oh no, absolutely.
I've never experienced it myself. So, real quick question, follow up for that: who's the better dancer, Michael Jackson or Paula Abdul?
Oh, this apples and oranges. So Paula was actually trained, like the rest of us were trained, right? The jazz training is years and years and years of learning to dance, right? To be able to, somebody throws a routine at you and you got to copy it and make it your own in a second. Like there's a lot of training, there's a lot of brain training in order to even assimilate that kind of stuff. And the physiology, obviously the connection with your muscles and the flexibility, all of that takes years. So Paula's trained. So in that, there's a lot of training in her. And so Michael was not trained, but Michael felt everything, right? So Michael did like 6 things over and over again. You know what I mean? He kept doing the same thing. And some of it he invented, some of it he just copied and made it his own. So he could feel like no one in the world. He could feel everything. Music just made him just vibrate, right? Paula could do it, didn't feel the same, you know. And JLo's the same. You watch JLo dance, she's not connected to it, right? She's working really hard, but it's like kind of, like I keep saying, stop dancing. You know, stand there, you're beautiful, you don't need to dance, because she's trying too hard and she's not really connected to it. This is from the perspective of a dancer. Like a dancer knows a good dancer in 3 seconds, right? So Michael felt everything, and it to a level that was unbelievable. Most everybody else, not so much, though they were trained.
Gotcha.
Interesting, huh?
That's a great distinction and definition of a dancer versus someone who's not trained. Interesting.
Yeah, I saw it. It's really fast, and again, it's it's like an actor knows an actor, a dancer knows a dancer, a singer knows a singer. Instantly in a second, right? It's like there's a finesse that comes with the training and the knowing.
Gotcha. Well, that's the end of the Q&A segment, and now I want to move on to my favorite little mini segment my guest called First Thoughts. But First Thoughts is brought to you in part by SRA Solutions, simple solutions for complex problems. For over 15 years, SRA Solutions has provided today's solution to prevent tomorrow's problem. SRA Solutions provides effective, efficient, robust, and reliable business intelligence, application, website design, and PC support services. For more information, visit their website at www.sresolutions.org. Now, as I always explain on my shows, First Thoughts is an opportunity for me to pose a phrase or a question or a word to my guest and get their first thoughts. They're not privy to these words coming and phrases coming, because obviously that ruined the whole First Thoughts notion. If you're listening for the first time, like I always say, shame on you, but I'm glad you're here. So, Andre, are you ready for a couple First Thoughts?
I am.
All right. So, first thought, if I say the word courting and chivalry to you, what's your first thought?
Courting is part of learning to know, getting to know somebody. Chivalry is men being gentlemen, and it's a gift to women. And I don't want to go any further because I'm going to get in trouble.
There's no trouble here.
Do you want me to go?
Feel free to expand if you want to. Yeah.
Well, the women complain of men, like chivalry is dead, and I say women killed it. Women absolutely killed it. Women, in the name of go girl, independent, like a guy being polite, opening the door. It's happened to me. Opening the door for a woman, looks at me in the face, and opens the other door. Grabs the other handle. Might as well just flip me off. Like, so, like for me, for men to be chivalrous is a bit of a gift. We want to protect and provide to women and be nice to them. But when you get to throw it back in my face, men stop being chivalrous. Like, you'll do this to a guy 3 times, and you won't do it again. Like, even a compliment. You can't give a woman a compliment, right? They push it away. And so men stop complimenting because you push my gift away. You tell a woman, like, how pretty she is. She's like, oh, no, I'm not. I'm bloated, about to get my period. I have a zit right here, and my hair's a mess. Like, can you just say thank you? Right? But, like, if you keep pushing things back or refusing the gifts, you stop getting gifts. So chivalry's dead. Women killed it.
Interesting. Well, I always talk about how I was raised by a father and a bunch of uncles, and then also raised by my mother and grandmother. So I kind of got both sides of the upbringing and perspective, if you will. So I was definitely raised in the chivalry time frame.
How are you doing with that right now? How are you doing with that right now?
And I enjoy being chivalrous. I get it gets reciprocated, I'll say. I get the thank yous, I get the politeness, appreciation, if that's a better way to put it.
Yep. And some women will push right back against you, like how dare you?
Mm-hmm.
How dare you?
Yeah, I haven't experienced that much. I think I don't say I pick and choose as far as not the courting, but the opening the doors thing. I'm a
Hmm.
vibe type of person, so I can feel when somebody
Absolutely.
just doesn't want you to open the door. I can feel when it's not just the day to be even in their space. Um,
Hmm.
but most of the time, I open the door. People say thank you. It's just,
Yeah.
and if they don't, I just kind of don't even absorb it. I just kind of say, okay, well, I opened the door anyway.
Okay. Cool.
So next first thought. If I say the word intimacy to you, what's the first
Hmm.
thought?
Intimacy. Well, there's two layers. There's emotional intimacy. There's physical intimacy. So there's two different, you know, layers here. You can even say three if you think about, spiritual intimacy. So intimacy is really like a bond, a connection, a deep connection, whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual. Um, well, one of the couple will cultivate all. Uh, but intimacy on its own, if you're only attached to physical intimacy, emotional intimacy is essential for really it to be more than that. So,
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. There's
Yeah.
this layered, this layered.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't get to
Gotcha.
play the layers. Yeah.
Gotcha. So don't focus too much on the physical intimacy part. Expand to the
It's
emotional,
it's
and
it's
if
a
you're
good part of
spiritual,
it. Yeah, it's a
mm-hmm.
big part of it, but it's not all of it because like that action itself, physical intimacy, is really just animalistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a difference between having sex and making love. Well, like having sex is physical, making love is actually physical and emotional connection. And again, some people take it all the way to spiritual. So, you know, animalistic or more like I would call human spirit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Human animal, human spirit. Those are two different ways to operate completely. Interesting.
Gotcha. All right. So last first thought. If I
Yeah.
say the word commitment to you, what's your
Uh
first
huh.
thought? Commitment.
Commitment. Oh, Jesus. I want to go into. I have this conversation all the time. Uh, is it possible to answer that question short? No. So I want to say this. It's going to sound insane. Are you ready? It's going to sound like insane. Women are going to just like throw stuff at the camera right now or the
Uh-oh.
microphone. That women don't understand commitment at all.
Hmm.
Men do naturally, instinctively. So let me explain real quick. And again, it's right. So
Please do.
if you
Please
understand,
do.
if you understand you as a male, me and
Mm-hmm.
man or man again, not boys, right? You have to be very clear. I constantly have to clean that up. Yeah, but that's a boy, right? So go to so masculine normal males um, cannot do anything without committing to it first. It's just what we do. I can't get out of bed until I commit to get out of bed. I commit to my job. I commit to my kids. I commit to my life. I commit to my business, my career, my employees. I can't do anything unless I commit to it. I can't turn around in my chair unless I commit to turning around in my chair.
Mm-hmm.
So men have no problem with commitment. We can't do anything without committing to it first. Um, but when it comes to relationship, it's a huge thing because we all know that a good woman committing to a good woman is a fantastic life. Committing to a bad one is hell. So men are careful with choosing women to bring to the world because this is the difference between a good life and a terrible life. So men are careful. It's a big deal, right? When men
Mm-hmm.
take on a commitment, they lay down their sexuality, right? Their polyamorous lifestyle as young men or single men, and they take on the responsibilities of a woman and a marriage and a family. Right? So it's a huge deal. But men understand it very clearly, and they're wide awake, and because we're very binary, again, other words that people hate. Sorry, nature. Men are very binary, and the bigger the risk or the bigger the investment, the more that is. But when it comes to women, men are like, yes or no. That's it. So if you can't get to be a yes on his list of the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with, yes, 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 no, yes, no. He's going to play with you. He's going to be with you, but he's not going to marry you. You know what I mean? Like so commitment to man is really obvious and a big deal. Women don't understand it that way. Women think like when you commit to somebody. I'm talking to you directly, right? Like when you have a girlfriend, you have a wife.
No, no,
Okay, did you have a
divorce.
girlfriend ever? You had a
Oh yeah,
wife. Right.
Yeah.
So when you got married to your wife, was it for the week? Was that for the month? What was the commitment in your
Well,
head?
it barely lasted 7 months, but yeah,
But I mean, the original
there was a
thought,
commitment there.
the original thought was forever, was it not?
Yeah.
I want this
Yeah.
to work forever. See, that's a commitment,
Hmm.
right? So you went in like every man in the world who's committing to marriage to make this last forever. Not, it's not temporarily. It's not for this week. It's not for this month. We'll see how it goes next year. It's forever.
Hmm.
It's a huge deal. But women, not understanding that men naturally commit, always are questioning the commitment every
Hmm.
single day. Does he love me? Does he care for me? Who's he talking to? What's happening when he's not away? When he's away from me? Right? Question, question, question. And I get it. This I got a lot of history in that because women have been. There's a bunch of stories, right? Women get played, women get cheated on, blah 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 blah. But they don't understand when a man commits, a real man, a solid man, he's laying down the whole part of his life that purposely he does with a smile and is
Hmm.
forever. But they
Now,
don't
I
really
do have
know
to
that.
follow up real quick.
Yeah.
So the one thing I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure my audience is going to notice, like I said, my audience is 80-some% women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when we talk about the pros and cons for men, you distinguish between men and boys as boys not
Yep.
being, either raised right or properly groomed to be men. But
Yep.
you don't. It doesn't seem like you make a distinction between women and girls, where girls have some of the
Oh,
flaws that
but I
prevent
do.
them from being
Oh,
women.
but I do. But I do. But I do. So in my world, if you're gonna get all the way, are you ready? So there's
Mm-hmm.
boys, guys, man, gentleman. Because being a man doesn't mean you're a gentleman. A gentleman is
Mm-hmm.
not even an upgrade of chivalrous, right? Solid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just who they are. They don't do it for any other reason. That's just who they are. So
Mm-hmm.
guys are between boys and men. It's a whole different
Okay.
story. So on the flip side, what I teach men is chick. A chick. You know what a chick is? Can't respect a chick.
Mm-hmm.
She's a chick, right? Like let's take a boy, low value, whatever. Chick, girl, grounded woman, lady. They fit perfectly. So gentlemen are looking for ladies, not a chick, right? You want to be a chick? You want to act like a dude? You want to be run through? No, even men aren't interested in that. So, but you'll see people match themselves up, right? A boy's gonna go with a chick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's interesting. So most ladies want a gentleman, right? Which is very traditional, but refuse to be
Mm-hmm.
traditional. There's a problem. And women find them, and women often want to blame men for not stepping up and not, want to take care of them or commit to them. You're missing the point. You don't. You refuse to be what men who wants that do what they want or be what they want, right? Like I have to say, I say
Mm-hmm.
it this way, you know, men are the buyers, right? So ladies, you have to know what the buyer is looking for, and you're not offering what he's buying, what he's looking for to buy. He's not buying. So if you're not what he's looking for, he's not buying. And
Mm-hmm.
so again, traditional man, one traditional women, you refuse to be traditional. Go girl, badass. Don't tell me what to do. You can't control me. He's like, fine. See ya. Looking for a traditional woman, and they still exist, by the way. And that's what those are the guys who have the lives that we're all looking. Oh God, I wish I could have that.
Got you.
Interesting.
Okay.
You
So
like
that's
it?
the end of the first thoughts. Yeah, I actually, now that you've done a distinction, I think it puts a little more fairness into it. I think because you have all four levels on both sides of men and women who, men, boys. What was it guy? What was
Boys,
it for last
guys,
one?
man, gentleman.
Gentleman's the one that I was missing.
Yep.
And then you have, I think you said
Chick,
grounded
chick,
woman, chick,
chick, girl, grounded woman, lady.
and then lady. Yeah. So those are worthy of diving into for the whole nother episode
Oh my
alone.
God. Yes, yes, yes,
But
yes, yes.
But this season, I'm actually turning over the power to my guest before we wrap up in the segment
Mm-hmm.
I call TO First Thoughts. And the brainchild behind this is a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, who our nicknames for each other is TO. But what this is I allow my guest this season to actually pose a question or a phrase to me to get my first thought. Anything we've talked about or any topic at all. So what first thought do you have for me?
Let me see. I want to throw it right back at you. The big one. It's like, what makes you, or what's your idea of commitment?
So my idea of commitment is an honest, planned partnership. So we sit down together. We're honest about our flaws. We're honest about our past, our future goals, and we plan out the life that we want to have for each other. I think in talking about my ex relationship, and thankfully about a week ago, 5-year divorce is actually about as finalized as it can get. But one thing we failed to do was have honest conversations about our past. And so things I discovered about her after a relationship, and even so much after their marriage was separation began, things I would have made a more conscious or better decision about going into that or not going into that. But also having that conversation, whether it's children, whether it's somebody's staying home, somebody's working, things you like, things you don't like, things you will accept, things you absolutely won't accept. Having those conversations as a partnership, because like I said, I don't really call them relationships, I call them partnerships. But having all that, to me, is what it's all about.
Beautiful. Can I say something?
Sure, absolutely.
This is what a misconception that everybody has. As long as we love each other, we'll be fine. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Like, in my world, there's 3 things that you have to have in order to build a long-term relationship. Again, I'm talking about building a long-term relationship, being a commitment, building a family, whatever. You have to have chemistry. It's called the 3 C's. You have to have chemistry. This chemistry is God-given, right? You have it or you don't. You could have it for her. She won't have it for you. It won't work. She could have it for you, and you don't have it for her. Right? So both have to be chemically attracted to each other. That's just nature. Can't do anything about it. You have it or you don't.
Yeah.
But that's essential. Number 2, you have to be compatible. Now, that one is tricky because it sounds to me like you didn't have those compatibility conversation with your ex, right? Compatibility is a bunch of this really, really diverse and has to be talked about and discovered. If he doesn't want to get married ever, but your big plan as a woman is to be married, you have to bring that up. Do you ever want to get married, have kids? If the guy says no, don't think you're going to change his mind. If that's happened, I've seen this over and over. Women are like, "Wow, I'll just change his mind." When he gets to know me, right? 4 years later, she's like, "So why don't we get married and have kids?" He's like, "We had this conversation 4 years ago." Like, listen, right? So compatibility, sometimes religion is compatible, but compatibility is lifestyle and a future similar. Like, you have to be going in the same direction for it to go 35 years in the same direction. Where do you want to retire? For some people, it's a thing. If I get a job in New York, we live in LA, are you following me? Because I'm not following you. If you're a man, men don't follow women. Women follow, right? Like, that's, again, like, you have to have this conversation. Like, are you compatible? Like, women who will independent and pride themselves in that. I'm not moving to New York. I have my business here. Not compatible. Right? I mean, that's the partnership again, right? Like, if we're going to be together 35 years, we got to talk about all the layers. So chemistry, compatibility, it's often tricky. You got to talk about it a lot. For my clients, I have this sheet of paper. It's like 128 questions that you talk about and share when you date somebody to find out all the layers of that compatibility that nobody really wide awake does naturally. Kind of think that's part of what you did, not knowing, right? Like, we love each other, and it's, we'd like to be together. That's not enough. Compatibility, and the last thing is communications, right? Communication is not talking. Communication is how do you negotiate your wants and needs respectfully with each other so that you actually kind of agree to stuff. If you can't negotiate, you're I don't like when you do this. When you do this, that's what happens to me. I don't like it. Can we maybe think of another way? People have a really hard time with this. The good news about communication is that can be taught. Very simple. That's what I do. Like, effective communication strategist. So the first 2 have to be explored. The third one can be learned really quickly. So with the 3, this is when you actually could go long term. Love, not enough. It's important to know.
Definitely not enough.
Yeah. So, but people are really
right.
blind. As long as we love each other, no.
Yeah. Yeah, the I'll change his mind or I'll change her ways. One I've never heard that one work out.
It never works. It never works. It bites you in the face like 2, 3, 4 years later. And now you just wasted 4 years of your life. If you're a woman who wants kids, right? Like TikTok, men don't lie, by the way. Men don't lie. Boys do. So who's in front of you? And if he's a man, believe exactly what he's saying. He's not going to change. Now, if a guy says maybe, men will say this, right? You want to be married, have kids. Maybe if I find the right woman, well, that's an opening. But if it's straight up as a no, listen. Yeah. Anyway, so fun stuff. It's easy stuff to teach. It's just stuff that we don't understand, know, put on our radar. We think it should all be easy. It's not. It's not, right? Look behind me. Talk about the metaphors. This is my wife and I ballroom dancing,
Okay.
right?
Very
There's
nice.
no equality in this. There's no equality. We're not the same. We're not doing the same thing. We're doing the exact opposite, right? Actually, what she's doing is harder than what I do. I may be leading the dance, but she's supporting my leadership, and that's how we could together go on the journey. That's a partnership. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's not that she's not passive. She's not passive at all, right? She's supporting my leadership, and she's doing everything I'm doing backwards in high heels in a dress. It's not easier, but it's essential for her to do her part, for me to do my part, and together we create this beautiful dance. And just like a relationship, this takes a lot of practice. This takes a lot of communication, right? We communicate with our fingers and our energy. We don't talk, right? So how do you learn to do all this? How do you do, like communicate relationships? So in the beginning of doing this, we step on each other's toes, right?
Mm-hmm.
If she's trying to man up,
Elbows. Yeah.
elbow to the nose, has happened to me, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
if my leadership is too soft, right, she's gonna have to take it on and then kind of pick it up. This is what happens in a relationship. So if the guy's too soft, she'll have to man up. Not her fault. It's a reflex. That's how I get the elbow to the nose, to the knee, to the groin, right? So you have to build that connection. You have to build that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. You have to build that communication. And like I said, ballroom dancers takes years to get that smooth, but it doesn't come naturally. Neither do
Yeah.
relationships. You have to learn all this stuff. We think it should be easy. If it's not easy, it's the wrong person. That's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. Nothing
Yeah.
that's valuable, that's big, that worth something is easy. Nothing in life. So, and especially relationship, there's too
Absolutely
many
true.
layers. So again, it's not hard to learn. You just don't know. In my world, it's
Mm-hmm.
what you don't know that's dangerous, not what you think is right. That's all you. Just saying.
Got you.
Just saying.
Well, Andre, I do want to thank you for stepping into Dave's head, as I always do with my guests. Before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity. If there's anything you want to talk about or promote, feel free to do so now.
Well, I have a gift for you listeners, if you want.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's actually two folds, right? People who listen to podcasts, people who are looking to like opening their minds. There's typically two types of people who listen to podcasts. There's people who are looking for information, which is fair, right? Looking for information, and there are people who actually are like they want to take action. They want they'll find something to help them. Two different types. So this is my double offer. So if you're somebody who's looking for information, you could just email me directly at Andre Coaching, the number one at gmail.com. Andre Coaching one at Gmail. And in the subject matter, just write Irresistible Book. And what I'll do is I'll send you a copy of my book. It's called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible in Women. I sell it online, but I'll give it to your listeners for free. This is if you just want information. It's actually quite fascinating. If you want to take action, or if you're looking for like rumble or learn something, step it up. It takes a little courage. Same thing, Andre Coaching one at Gmail, but in the subject matter, just write talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link, a Zoom link, and we'll set up an hour call and find out what's the challenge for you? Where you stuck? Where's the loop? Where's the loop? If you say men are all, they're never, they're always, that's not that you're stuck in the loop, right? Same with men. Women are all, they're never, they're always. No, that's you. It's you. It's you. It's not the world. It's not them. It's not. There's no such thing as all. So where you stuck, right? Where you stuck? What's not working? It's an hour call, and we dig into. I'm really good at this. That's part of the work, right? We go right to childhood, where the wheels came off. Like, not one of us gets out of childhood unscathed, right? We all make decisions between the age of 5 and 11 in the formative years. We make decisions about ourselves, life, the world, and people, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable, right? I'll never amount to anything. Whatever it is you're interested in, there's 75 different thousand ways of how it ended up with the wrong belief system, which creates lenses on your awareness and on your reality, and that's your own reality, and you end up living life through this. So we have to remove those lenses, masculine women, feminine men, those are the big ones, but everything in between. So in 15 minutes, You actually get right to the point in life when you made a decision that actually kind of carried through your life. And so that call alone is liberating, because for my clients and men and women who come at me with you know, I can't get a date, or I can't get a second date. What is wrong with me? In that conversation, literally in 15 minutes, we'll find out, where the wheels came off, and that there's really nothing wrong with you. You're just a product of your past. Now, that means it's fixable. Not everything's fixable, right? So from understanding that, liberation. So what's the dream? Because we can get you the dream, right? If you clean up the baggage, what's the dream? And then I basically we'll talk about what I offer. There's different ways to get invested, work with me in different ways, different packages, different price. And again, people want to take action, make the call. Andre Coaching 1, talk now. Ta-da.
Got you. And can you give that email one more time?
It's Andre Coaching, the number 1 at gmail.com.
Okay.
So that's my direct email. And again, you have all the link, right? The website, and I'm all over the place. ProjectEquinox.net, the website. There's blogs, there's everything on there. You can spend the day there playing. And so if you Google my name, you'll find out what I'm up to. And if it resonates, go find some, just go investigate. Again, everything I teach is always the same. It's all based in nature, and it liberates people. And it kind of makes it all make sense. It's actually quite easy. My ladies, my clients, my men as well, on the other side of a program will go, oh my God, I'm like, how hard is it? She goes, so much easier than I thought. Like, I just didn't know, right? None of this is really hard. It's just not knowing. So come and discover if you want.
Gotcha. Well, once again, thank you for stepping in Dave's head, and
Thank you.
Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Thanks.
My absolute favorite segment of my podcast is my GRIN, which stands for Great Reason to Be in Love with Now. Goldberg Jones is probably something you've never heard of. It's not a person. It's a local office in Portland, an office full of divorce attorneys who represent husbands and fathers' rights. Now, I'm pretty sure you're asking, why the hell is this a GRIN? Well, I did mention in my opening segment, and I think I talked about it once briefly during my guest segment, that finally, absolutely finally, my divorce is moving to the signed, sealed, and delivered, I'm not yours, phase or stage. So why is this a GRIN? Why is this a GRIN again? I know, I understand, I get it, trust me. Why is this a GRIN? Well, on their website, they have some blog articles, and they happen to have an article from November of last year, which ironically is when my divorce was supposed to be final. Damn you, COVID. I don't really think she had COVID. But the article is entitled Common Ways to Celebrate Divorce. And so I talked about my divorce being final, and I've been thinking about what to do when I actually get the divorce decree in hand. Is it just simply I'll open up a bottle of champagne and celebrate? Is it, taking a big trip? Is it throwing a big party? Is it just simply reflecting on the journey that's been having a nice drag of scotch, kicking my feet up, lighting a fire, even if it's 90 degrees out, but just for the ambiance, or sitting on my deck, or driving to an outside venue and just reflecting on the journey I've taken, what I've been through, how I've in many ways survived, persevered, and gotten to that point. Somewhere in between, all the above, who knows? But they talk about 5 different ways to celebrate divorces. And so I'll go through them really quickly. The first is divorce parties. Now, obviously, this is the kind of the new trend, right? Everybody's throwing divorce parties, from subdued to outrageous. But is there a better way to celebrate, honestly, than a divorce party? A celebration of, in my case, a horrible chapter in my life concluding. What better way to bring some of my friends and family together, either to my house, or I get a venue booked, or I take over a section of a venue, or maybe even just going out to a big dinner. But what better way to celebrate than a party. And so that's one of the things under consideration. And truth be told, that's one of the things I'm considering, a divorce party. The second one they talk about is linked, but doesn't have to be. Divorce cakes. Now, first of all, what is a party without a cake, right? Think about it. You can't have a party without a cake. Even if you don't like cake, you still have a cake at a party because it's a party. But even if you don't have a party at all, you can still simply have a divorce cake. Now, they talk about simply just Googling divorce cakes, and you'll get Google image results. You'll get tons of Pinterest results. I have not done this yet because I do have some ideas, but I'm curious to see what some of these cakes look like. But it's kind of a new thing, right? It's like divorce parties. It's like the new thing to do, divorce cakes. Whether you have like fractured rings on the as design. I know some great cake makers, by the way. So again, it's a possibility. Having a party, having a cake, or maybe not having a party and just having a cake. Most likely if I did a party, there'd be cake. So most likely it'd be both or none. The next thing they talk about is something I absolutely know has 0% chance of happening, and something I actually never heard of before until this article, which is divorce selfies. Now, if you're like me, the very first thing I thought of when I read divorce selfies was, I have had 2 shirts for about 3 years that kind of communicate the fact that my divorce is final, and I haven't been able to wear them because it took so long for my damn divorce to get final. But my first thought when I read divorce selfies was, me putting one of the shirts on, taking a selfie, posting it on my social media. No. Divorce selfies are when couples amicably end a marriage and they've started doing selfies together. And so maybe they'll show their ring finger, and I'm showing the wrong ring finger, but if you're on Spotify or YouTube, it's showing the wrong ring fingers together to show that their ring's not there anymore. Or maybe they're holding their marriage certificate, or not marriage certificates, divorce decrees in their hand and doing a selfie. I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty confident the key word in that whole description is amicable. I doubt you will find anyone who did not have an amicable divorce doing selfies together. It probably wouldn't make sense. And in my case, 0.0% chance because I literally don't want to be around her. So we can scratch that one off the list. Kind of creepy, honestly. It just doesn't ring true to me. I get it. There are people who divorce, they stay friends. It just, stuff didn't work out. But we're still respectful to each other. We still be pals, friends, associates, whatever. And life can go on without any negativity. Congratulations for you. Happy for you. Beautiful thing. It's not my situation, though. The next one likely won't be my choice as well, which is do something you've always wanted to do. Now, skydiving is something that's been on my list for a while. For various reasons, I haven't been able to actually do it. Whether it's the location I was at, whether it's high winds, whether it's, me being somewhere where skydiving was offered, but I'm not, too sure about the safety of the location. Timing. All these things have gone into me not being able to do this yet. It's something I'm still going to do, something still on my list. But I wouldn't do skydiving as a celebratory thing for this divorce. Why? Because I don't want to bring mojo that's not positive into my plane or the parachute or the winds that day. I want to go skydiving because I got an opportunity to go skydiving and that's what I'm doing. I don't want to go skydiving because I'm celebrating a divorce. It's just something that's a personal preference, and maybe people don't believe in mojo. That's perfectly fine. Not going to happen for me. The last one, something that's also not likely to happen as well, which is reinvent yourself. I'm not someone who says, because I got a divorce, I'm going to shave my beard and just rock a goatee. Or even worse, shave all my hair and just do Chester molester mustache. No, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to, they also talk about working out more, doing physical changes, personal style updates, updating your wardrobe, that type of stuff. If you know me, I can rock a jeans and a polo for 2 years and never buy a pair of jeans and another pair of polos. I have enough full, formal attire to go to events every week, every month. I can walk around in sweatpants and t-shirt and be perfectly fine. So I'm not going to change my wardrobe just because I got divorced. I stay in great shape because I have this inherent fear of a dad body someday. So that's not going to be my trigger either. So reinventing yourself because of a divorce is not something I'm going to lean towards as well. So if we go down the list, those 5, divorce parties, divorce cakes, divorce selfies, do something you've never done, but you wanted to do, and reinventing yourself, really only 2 of those 5 have a realistic chance for me to actually have it happen. But maybe if you're going through divorce or it's about to be final or you're thinking about divorcing, hopefully you're not in that situation. But if you are, take a look at their website, Goldberg Jones -OR, because it's in Portland, or Portland, not Ortland, .com/divorce, and then / and dashes between each word, the number 5, common ways to celebrate divorce. Or just Google search for common ways to celebrate divorce. You'll probably get the article. So for those who in my life who are in my circle, watch out for invitations for a divorce party, divorce gathering, divorce dinner, something to that effect. You never know what idea I might come up with. I want to thank Andre Paradis for stepping into Dave's Head and really talking about something that I haven't heard talked about that type of way before. I'm sure, and as I told during the interview, my audience is about 80% women in various countries, but 80% women. That's a huge percentage. And so I'm really looking for your comments, your feedback, your questions even. Take the poll and answer questions. If you're on Spotify, both will be posted along with this episode. I would love to hear your feedback and see your response to that conversation. I'm not going to say I agree with all his comments, but I think towards the end, we found some common ground and things that we both mutually can say, yeah, I can see that being the way I feel as well. But I'm definitely looking forward to your feedback. As always, it's loved and appreciated, your support, feedback, and listening and watching the podcast. Check out his website, Project Equinox, at projectequinox.net. Check out his book, Purpose, Passion, and Profit, on Amazon. Also, as he said, he's gifting listeners of Dave's Head podcast. So email him directly at andrecoaching1@gmail.com to receive a free copy of his book or to set up a call with him. I will have the instructions and all that stuff posted with the social media posted you'll see. So please, if you want more information, like he said, if you want info or if you want action, email him directly. He'll be happy to receive whichever one you want. Check him out on Instagram at Project Equinox. On Facebook, look for the page Project Equinox. And if you're on LinkedIn, check him out at Andre Paradis. Support our sponsors, Digga Movers, for all your local and long distance moving needs. Find them at www.diggamovers.com. That's www.diggamovers.com. And SRE Solutions, Inc. for all your PC support, website design, application design, network, both wired and wireless, runs, all that stuff and so much more. Check them out at www.sresolutions.org. That's www.sresolutions.org. And if you're interested in sponsoring on Dave's Head, reach out to me on any of my social media and we can definitely make it happen. So finally, let me say that again. Finally, nature and celebrations. All great reasons to be in love with now. That's all for this episode of Dave's Head. New episodes released on the second and fourth Friday of the month. For all things Dave's Head, check out our website at daveshead.card.co. Subscribe to watch new episodes on YouTube or Spotify video, or to listen via your preferred podcast player, go to anchor.fm/Dave's Head Pod. Thank you for watching or listening. As always, enjoy life, because life should be fun. Take care.